topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask Good Questions podcast, broadcasting live every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY Radio at W4CY.com. This week and every week, we will reach for a higher purpose in money and life, as well as a focus on health and wellness. Now, let's join your host, Bonita Bell-Andersen, as together we start with Asking Good Questions.
Welcome to the Ask Good Questions podcast. I'm your host, Bonita Bell-Andersen, and today we are going to ask some good questions on how to kick back. And I couldn't think of any other guest other than our own Dean Piper to help me with this, because we're going to talk about kicking back in a couple of different ways. So I want to invite him to the podcast stage.
Hello, hello.
Oh, hello. This is one of my favorite people who keeps me on my toes. And because he is who he is, I'm going to have him tell us a little bit about who he is in case there's anybody out there that doesn't know Dean Piper yet. So go for it, Dean.
I'm the pipe man. There's enough said. Don't have to say anything else. No, but seriously, whoever did your intro, man, he sounds cool, not me.
I know. God, that voice sounds familiar.
I know. I can't tell who it is, but it's like it's just like right there. But basically, I am somebody that has multiple personalities
definitely,
without a disorder. Just multiple personalities. I think everybody should have multiple personalities. And I think you learn that from traveling, because when you travel, you see other cultures, you see the way other people live, how they think, how they look at things. And those are all imprints on you throughout your life that I am sure that's what it is, because I've lived in so many places in my life. I've visited so many places. And it's kind of like there's this song by Linkin Park, Somewhere I Belong. I'm still finding that place. There's like no one place on earth that has everything that I want. So that's why I travel, because here has some places, there has some places that, so I think people do have to open up their world. We live in this sheltered world, especially in the United States of America, where my ex-wife's grandfather never even left his street his whole life. And that was having both a wife and a girlfriend. Like, that's how some of the South is like, because that's where he's in, a little town called Woodstock, Virginia, he was in, which they had a ticker tape parade when McDonald's came to town. So that'll tell you where it is on the tourist map. It ain't anywhere. But I think those are the people you have to meet in the world, because it gives you different perspective. It gives you, we live in this bubble. And so I think that's why we're here today. And we're going to talk about stuff like that. And especially since the fall is coming up. Right.
It was kind of like I wanted to do something. It's kind of like today was like kickback day. And it was like, who else but Dean could help me do that? But before we get into it, how'd you become the pipe man?
So you really want to hear the whole story?
No, just the shortened version, Dean.
Okay, because the whole story is about 5 hours, but I'll give you like the short version. It's only about 53 minutes. Now, but seriously though, when I first started doing my show many years ago, first it was when I was in the financial business, so it was all about investments and very serious, and then as a motivational speaker, I did to promote my seminars, and I had multiple shows. I had like my motivational show, and then I designed a relationship show. And I handpicked people for this relationship show. And basically, I wanted to get the 4 extreme types There's me, who has been told by relationships in my life or ones that did not become relationships that too nice, friend zoned, stuff like that. And then, and hopeless romantic, all things I wear a badge of honor. I don't care who likes it or not.
I'm wondering if I'm on the other end of the spectrum from you.
You might be. So that's what led me to pick three. I handpicked three co-hosts. One was this woman she was a very conservative married woman, definitely on the one spectrum. Then there was this other female. She was married too, but she was a spicy Latina. And so she was the epitome, and a good friend of mine. So I'm not saying anything I haven't said to her face. The epitome of the female player. Okay. So you had those two covered. And then I picked this dude. He was 40 years old, never had a relationship longer than a year. No, no second date if he doesn't get, the thing on the first date that you normally wouldn't get. And so we developed that show. Now, at one point, he had to leave the show. So I decided, instead of replacing him, that I'm going to basically play both roles. Because a lot of times on the radio, you're playing a role. Okay. Right. And so that's where Pipeman was resurrected, I'll say, not born, because Pipeman, it's funny. I interview all kinds of music artists, and they all, you never want to ask a music artist, how'd you get your band name? They're so sick of that. It's asked 10 million people, nobody cares. But they always ask me how I got the Pipeman name. And there's even songs, okay? In fact, Juan can play one. There's songs that they create during an interview, okay, of what they think the Pipeman is. And simply, it's just, it's just my name. It's Piper. So I had a nickname Pipeman when I was younger. So it got resurrected. And Pipeman's like the alter ego. Pipeman will say things on the radio that Dean would never say in life. Maybe in the head, because all of us, we say stuff in our own head. Yeah. So with Pipeman, the filter is completely destroyed beyond belief. Okay. And it is a rather funny story. And that's why I do want to tell a little bit of it there, because it's, hey, do you know where that song is, Juan? Because I'll find it. It's right there. You should play it. Hold on, let's play that song first. Let's see if he knows where it is. Do 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 do. He's trying to change it up.
I know. He's all stressed out now in the background.
I know. I put him right on the spot, but he should be. He's that.
This is the Pipeman. It's gonna pipe. Play the pipe. Pipeman. Oh yeah. He's the Pipeman.
Pipeman. Play that pipe. Pipeman. Play that pipe.
Play that funky pipe.
Play that pipe, man. Pipe man.
Pipe man. Pipe man. Yeah.
Pipe man.
Funky pipe on W4CY Radio.
Totally impromptu, totally in the middle of an interview, and there's others like that. But it's funny, let people's minds go wild, but so really what's really funny about this is it became a good social experiment. Even in traveling, it does. Because we were just talking about this today on my show. So one time, Rebel, who runs my Louisiana studio, she came down here to help me do media coverage for a concert at the fairgrounds.
Okay.
And my daughter was working for me at the time. She was here, and we're outside of the interview after I'm done with the interview, and there's all these women surrounding and stuff. And it's funny because she looks at my daughter and she's like, "What's up with that?" And my daughter rolled her eyes at her, and yeah, all the women love my dad, but they love Pipeman. That's where the social experiment comes in. And I'll tell you how much so. Number one, I have a commercial that I run every presidential term. I run for president. Pipeman does. 2016, I decided to write myself in as a candidate. I wrote myself in as a candidate. I announced it on my show, and I know at least 5 or 6 of my listeners voted for me because they said so, and they were all females. Okay. And my commercial, you know, it's basically Bill Clinton saying I did not have sexual relations with that woman, voiced over. And then Pipeman comes on and says, elect me Prez, and I will have sexual relations with that woman. Vote Pipeman for Prez. And so here's the extreme example, though, that this is the best of all. The kid's mom, we're divorced for about 10 years at this point when this happens. Right now it's like over 20. But my daughter's working at the radio station. She calls up my daughter one day. Now, let me give you a little backstory. When we got divorced, well, when we met 2 months before the wedding, she broke up with me because I was too nice. And then when we did get divorced, she said, I hope you find what you're looking for because you're like the most romantic person I've ever met. I'm just not into that. Fast forward 10 years, calls up my daughter and says, I was listening to your dad on the radio. What happened to him? I was married to him for 12 years. He was never that obnoxious. He's such a player. And then she tried to reconcile with me because she thought I was now a player. I had friends I've known my whole life, women friends that like, ooh, what happened? I'm playing a role, idiot. Like nothing happened to me. I'm the same person. But like, it's no different than a lot of radio personalities. Who they are on the radio is not necessarily who they are in real life. And it's rather sad too that when I go out and do these music festivals, if I meet a woman like as Pipeman, and then I want to show them who Dean is, yeah, they're not interested in that. They want Pipeman. So there's some interesting psychology.
We're getting way off track here.
Well, I know. Well, you wanted to know, so there it is.
There it is. All right. So we're going to talk about travel. We're going to talk about fall color. We're going to talk about hot springs. Speaking of, with you and travel, what's the most spontaneous thing you've ever done when it's come to travel?
Before I answer that, I'm going to say that I used to sell hot spring spas. So that's what I know about hot springs. Like way back. But anyway, no, seriously, that's a hard question. The reason it's a hard question is spontaneous is my middle name. Like pretty much most of it is. But it's funny because people don't get it. Spontaneous doesn't mean you don't plan at all. It means that you can plan on the fly. And people don't understand that.
I bet you would never guess what mine is.
You're a planner.
You'll never guess. Huh?
You're a planner.
I know, but you'll never guess what my most spontaneous moment was.
Okay, let me see. I'm going to guess it was when you decided to do the show on this network.
No, actually, you'd been beating me up about how good this was going to be. So no, this goes way back, Dean. You don't know anything about this part of my life.
Let's hear it.
I was in college and I was on a ship going around the world called World Campus Afloat. It was an amazing 4 months on the ocean. And my most spontaneous moment was in Thailand catching a freight train. You know how just hopping on a car?
Yeah.
Going to the other side of the island. I would say probably that's up there with one of my most spontaneous moments.
That's a pretty good one.
That's a pretty good one.
My first most spontaneous moment would be when I used to be in my early 20s and I would wake up in the morning more than once, have the day off. I worked like 6 days a week, 1 day off. I'd wake up in the morning, usually in the middle of the week because I was in retail. I was in college, and I would just wake up and end up in Florida or somewhere else, and just I would get in my car and drive to the airport. Like I would say the most spontaneous thing that ever happened to me in my life that created this person probably is in 1980 when
Okay.
my father walked up to me and said, "Meet your new mother, and we're moving to California in 3 days.
Wow.
Pack your bags." And so that was the start of how I live now, and the spontaneity and the traveling and the experiencing life. Because I got to tell you, when that happened, I was pissed. I had people I knew my whole life and everything. And, but it's probably the best thing that ever happened to me. And that's the lesson I would like to give people is like, sometimes those spontaneous things, those things that you don't plan for, don't expect, those are the things that will change your life forever for the better.
Yeah.
And now I'll give you a recent times. I don't know if I'd call it spontaneous because most everything I do is spontaneous. But keep in mind, like these spontaneous things, I'll be packed 2 weeks ahead of time, ready to go. Like
Right.
I'm leaving tomorrow to go to Montreal to cover a festival. And that's another thing. When I do that stuff for the radio station, you get the approval like a day or two before, sometimes day of.
Oh,
So
wow.
it takes that type of person, so basically I planned a trip to Bali, and I was going to stay there for about 2.5 months. It was a couple years ago. And I always, when I travel, I pay a little extra to make sure it's cancelable and changeable and not cost me money to do so.
Right.
Unless like there's a fare change, that's different, but that way I am flexible. That way I can be spontaneous. And that also comes from being a media person, because like when you're covering these festivals like I do, you have to do all your travel like a year in advance, or else you're not going to get anything. So you book all that stuff, and if you don't get the approval, you just cancel it. But what happened here is a perfect example of why I do this, because, we look at places from afar, and this is why I've learned traveling, and it's not exactly when you're there what it looks like in the pictures and the videos.
Yeah.
And
We're going to show some pictures today.
nice.
What? So I'm
Well,
going to.
do you want to know where it is real quick?
Back in again.
I got to tell you the answer.
Oh, okay.
Bali.
Tell me the answer.
Bali. I flew there with an itinerary for 2.5 months. The day I got there, I changed my whole itinerary and booked like 17 different places. I was going to be all over the island, the Noosas and the Gillies. Just from being there one day, I realized that my plans were terrible.
Oh.
And I kind of knew the first place I was at I wouldn't like so much. And that's where it happened. And I had such major, great experiences because of arriving there and just changing my whole plan in the day I got there. So now you're reeled in. Now you got me reeled in.
So so I think I'm hoping, I always want to have something that people can take away from the episode, right? And so, start making a list, everyone, about what are some of the nuggets that we're going to take away. So we're trying to deal with fall and fall color, and then we're going to pivot to hot springs. But what is there something about fall that you think makes it a good time to travel?
I think it's an amazing time to travel. In fact, living in South Florida, I miss the fall because you don't even know it's fall here. But it's first of all, it's such a cool season in the right places because of the leaves changing colors everywhere, even on the ground as it's falling down, and beautiful with creeks and rivers and stuff like that. And like a perfect example is, if you want to see something that looks like paradise to me, which nobody would ever think it would be me saying this, but when I see these pictures of Lake Ozark in Arkansas, not even in the Missouri part, but in Arkansas, and the cabin.
So I think we better bring up the pictures, because I did some pictures.
All right.
So while you're talking, Dean, we're gonna do a little bit. Okay, so
I've seen that butterfly somewhere.
You have?
I have. I can't
No.
remember where, but I've seen it.
I love butterflies. Okay, so we're going to talk about Appalachia, the Ozark Mountains. So don't let me stop you. Keep on going now while we're showing some of these pictures.
Well, going back to the Arkansas, it's like I just look at these pictures all the time and on Lake Ozark with a cabin, and it's absolutely like, to me, a dream. Like, and talk about chilling out. You're off the grid. I'm both a city boy and an off the grid boy, and I think it's good to have both. Right there, I would have a lot of fun with that. That looks like there could be some whitewater rafting right there. That would be fun. Okay. And look at that. Look at that.
I love to kayak. And so this would be someplace I would love to kayak.
I was just kayaking in my backyard with my grandkids the other day. But yeah, look at that. The color, the water, it's kind of cool, and that after this, it's all going to look dead. So you kind of appreciate it while it's there too. That's the other thing. Like, as you start seeing the leaves falling, you probably appreciate it more because it's not going to last long. Right? Look at that. It's like a painting.
Yeah.
It's not even like real life, but that is real life.
Picture, but it looks like it could be I know. And it is. It's just like, wow.
And look at that. See, I love road trips through stuff like this, like scenic drives. Florida's boring as crap, man. I want to go through a forest of color, through the mountains, just like, okay, one of the things on the list, the Blue Ridge Mountains. Man, is it beautiful there. And, you're just among nature, including the bears that are everywhere.
Right.
But I got to tell you something. If there were, because I cannot be landlocked. I lived always right by the beach. If there was a beach in the Smokies, I would live there because the people are so nice there, number one. And usually they're not nice to Yankees like me in the South. So I like it. And then it's so beautiful there. And not only during the fall, but during the winter, during the summer, the 4 seasons give you great things to do. But the fall, I mean, it's just amazing. And places like that are a little slice of heaven and where you can get away from everything in the world. So fall is a great way. If you're stressed out about what's going on in your life or going on in the world, or just sick of listening to all the chatter, especially the negative chatter, my solution has always been to disappear into the mountains and the forests, especially in the fall, when I can just soak this in instead.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, let's take down the slides for just a minute. One. And I'm thinking now this is in Germany. My heritage is German, and there's a fall trip that I still remember when we were living in Germany for 4 years in the 1980s, and that was going to Oktoberfest. Now there's color and stuff like that in the fall in Germany, but nothing like the East Coast, the Ozarks, the Appalachian Mountains. But sometimes I think you're going to agree that there's times when there's just things that stand out and that you think of. The other thing that I'm wondering that I want to see what you say is, what if somebody says, I just can't? It's kind of like, do you feel like you sometimes have to give yourself permission to kick back and just enjoy it?
I think you always have to give yourself permission, just like, I think you should make yourself do stuff sometimes. Yeah, sometimes we feel guilty that we should be doing something else, especially when it comes to work. Feel guilty, oh, I'm not working. Like, I'm the biggest offender of that. I work like 20 hours a day. So when I'm out kayaking, I'm feeling guilty that I'm not working, type of thing. And going to Germany thing, there's a perfect example. I was just there, okay? And
where in Germany?
Wacken.
Okay, I'm not sure where that is.
Yeah, it's a little town that has the biggest metal festival in the world called, and they consider it the holy ground. It started
Wow.
as a little teeny thing because it's a little village, okay? But it's all on farmland. So I had this hotel room that was connected to a restaurant that I had a porch, and out on my porch were cows and horses, and the pool was like a natural pool. It looked like a pond, but it was a pool. And like the, it's amazing. My both my son and my daughter were stationed in Germany.
Okay.
My daughter, she it's her favorite place on earth. She would move back there in a heartbeat. She never wanted to come back to the US. And one of the reasons she loved it is because of the scenery in the fall, in the winter, in the spring, but also all of the castles and
Yeah.
festivals. And so like fall is great for that in Germany.
They love
one
to party.
one festival after another, after another, another, and the castles are just absolutely amazing. And
are.
that and it depends on what part of Germany you're in. Just like any country, there's different parts. Now, on the other hand, Berlin is very different than that, but I love Berlin. Like, and there's the city boy in me, but Berlin is like, I'm a Jew. I also have German ancestry. So the first time I went to Berlin, what it was when I got there, and that's another thing. Stop letting these things in your head or what people put in your head of what's out there, because I had this thing in my head and I went there and I loved Berlin more than I could have ever imagined. It was so the antithesis of what you would think of because of what we think of Berlin back in the Holocaust.
Right.
Like just such a liberal, nice city, and when I say liberal, I don't care about politics. Like, I'm both a conservative and a liberal. I don't need to pick a side. Okay. I need to just be me. So what I'm saying is that, like, it was just a friendly place to be,
Right.
and a beautiful place with a lot to do. So I don't think people think of Germany that way, by the way.
No.
All of that stuff that I said.
What so have you been to the Appalachian area? Have you been to the Ozarks? Have you done festivals there? Is there anything that stands out to you about that area?
Well, yeah, I've been to Appalachian Mountains plenty of times because I lived up in New Jersey, and that's like right. The whole Appalachian Trail is right there, and then also the Delaware Water Gap, which is really freaking amazing. That's the tri-state area where the three states, Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey meet, and it's like these big mountains, and like you would see in a movie, and
Right.
like a little waterway that's way deep down that you do go whitewater rafting on. And then the Appalachian Trail, like, that's just an amazing place. Like, it's a place where you find yourself, I think, because you hike the Appalachian
Bring up
Trail.
the slide again. I got another slide to show him.
Whoa.
I don't remember where that one is. I'd have to look at my notes to see where that is.
It's pretty nice, though. It looks like it could be Tennessee.
Well, is there something about that part of the country that people wouldn't expect?
I don't know that they wouldn't expect, because it's pretty publicized of what's there. The Smoky Mountains, the Blue Ridge Mountains, the Appalachian Trail. Like, it's all pretty well documented. The one thing about the Appalachian Trail is it's the U.S.'s version of the Camino. Okay. And I've been on the Camino too. But the Appalachian Trail, like the Camino, is easy because you're just walking on roads. In that respect, it's easy. The Appalachian Trail, you're actually hiking the Appalachian Mountains. And I get my hats off to people that do the full thing, because that is a feat in and of itself. But they do it because that's the ultimate in just escaping from the world and all that ails you and recharging yourself and finding who you are. And there's the Ozarks. Now the Ozarks go from Arkansas to Missouri. Most people are more familiar with like the Branson area. That's
Right.
the popular area. But the
Big-
best pictures I've ever seen were in Arkansas, So I don't know. That's pictures though.
Boy,
But
wasn't that just like I meant to do that?
see, look at that. He's following my lead.
Wide open spaces.
Like, think of what it feels like to stand up there like that and look at the vastness of nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll tell you, when I was younger, yes, I used to escape to places like this. Like, I would work my butt off, and then I would escape for like 3 months, fall off the face of the earth. Nobody would even know where I was. We didn't have cell phones or social media then, and just disappear into stuff like this.
Right.
And recharge.
It's
and
amazing.
Recharge.
Isn't it amazing that you've got all those different plants that blend together to do this? It's like a
No
quilt.
doubt. Exactly. And what amazes me is like a lot of these plants and trees, they are built to survive through the times that they shouldn't. So it's it's not like you have to replant this stuff every fall. It dies and then it comes back, which is so amazing to me because in Florida it would just die.
Right. Well, I can't believe we've been going for half an hour already. So I want to make sure we get to the hot springs because I love hot springs. And so
Whoa.
over to the west side of the country because I'm from Washington State and I have been up to British Columbia many times. Ainsworth is one of the. Have you ever been to that? Have you ever been to the?
No, that one looks cool.
Well, it's in caves. There's a big. There is a big pool, but then you can go into these caves.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah. Have you ever been to the Vancouver area?
No, I have not.
Well, see, you need to put that on your bucket list.
I will be in Canada tomorrow, though.
Okay.
But not that part of Canada.
Not that part of Canada. Okay. Well, the western side of the continent, the Western Canada, and then of course, I'm partial to Washington State because that's where I was born and raised. But there's some really cool places where you have all these hot springs that come out of the ground. And there's something about hot springs where I just kind of go, it's just awesome. And so there's another picture from Ainsworth. But there's a lot of, but have you ever been to a natural hot springs up in the mountains that's like, it's not developed? Have you ever been there?
Yeah, in Costa Rica.
Okay, well, we're gonna end with Costa Rica. I want to tell you about Goldbug Hot Springs in Idaho.
Nice.
You walk up. Your car is way down the valley there, and you actually hike up to this. The water is just right for sitting in and having, and there's. It like flows down into another pool and then it flows down again to another pool. And there's barely even a sign down at the bottom where you park your car and then hike up the mountain to this place. But it's natural hot springs that are coming out of the mountain.
Wow. Yeah.
It's super cool. My daughter was the one that told me about it. And so you're walking up this valley and, it's just amazing because it's completely not developed. So, all right, we're going to turn to Costa Rica.
There it is.
Okay, tell me about you and Costa Rica. How many times have you been there?
I can't even keep count at this point.
Wow.
Probably. I don't even know. I can't even answer that. I've been doing it for years, and there's. That is one of my special places on earth, but again, doesn't hold everything. It holds certain things.
Right.
Now, here where we're showing in the picture, that's the Arenal volcano. which is a big tourist spot. And I've climbed it in the rain. I've climbed it because it started raining while I was climbing it. But that volcano is what causes the hot springs. So the hot springs are all over that area. And people, the locals, they constantly like just go and park on the side of the road and hop into these areas.
Oh, not in the developed resorts.
No. This is just out in nature, like rivers. Like you go into a river and there's hot springs in the river, and it's kind of cool because, the current could get pretty strong too. Like, so sometimes it's just mellow. Other times, well, you better pay attention.
Right.
Because it's a river. So it depends. But it gets quite warm too because of the volcano.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I know that several of these hot spring places will have to moderate what's coming out of the ground because it's too hot.
Exactly.
Right. So have you ever stumbled on a hot springs that you weren't expecting? Have you ever, like talking about being spontaneous? I mean, if I came across one, I would be detouring into that hot springs right away.
Yeah, I can't say that I have like just bumped into one, like, when you're going over to that part of Costa Rica that they have the hot springs there. So even if you do bump into one, you're not really bumping into one, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There's other things, surprises in my travels I've bumped into, but not hot springs. See, you may be more aware of it. That's another thing too. People, it's what they're aware of and what they see and what catches their attention. So since it's a big deal to you, you'll notice it all the time.
Right. Whatever your perspective is. And one of the things that when I was thinking about this and let's just kick back and do something that you could spend a lot of money, like this Los Lagos hot springs, probably it's a fair amount to be able to get in. But then on the other end of the financial picture is Goldbug, where you hike up a mountain and you just climb into the pool and it doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah, Costa Rica doesn't cost you anything. You just there are places that you would pay. I'm not paying when it's right there for free.
Right. Exactly. But however you do it, sometimes I think it's okay. It's okay to splurge and do that. But I like to have a mix of experiences. I like to, there's some things that I'm willing to pay for because I want the experience. And then there's other times when I want to just experience however I'm going to, I don't want to spend a whole lot of money. So is there, like we were talking about giving yourself a break. I think hot springs is one of those things that fits that, because like this picture of the people looking at the volcano sitting in a hot, in one of the pools, there's something about giving yourself a break, de-stressing, that I think is super important. And the other thing that I want to say about, like if you remember, Dean, it's been 2 years ago almost when I started my podcast. And I knew that I was going to do a lot of, being a financial advisor, I knew that I was going to do a lot of financial stuff, but I also wanted to do health and wellness. And one of the things I always say now is health is the first wealth.
Oh, no doubt.
Because if you don't have, you can have all the money in the world and be able to go to places like this. But if you don't have your wealth, if you don't have your health, you're not going to enjoy it.
And if you don't have your health, you won't have your wealth either anyway.
Yeah.
So, and like, I think too, to add to what you're saying, yes, people need to know what they're passionate about that will give them the feelings that they want, and then do it, so like, you're passionate about stuff like this. And there are different personalities, like me personally, because I was in the spa business. Like, I'm kind of like, somebody says you want to go hot tub, and I'm like, yeah, go have fun with that. But then the other thing is I'm not usually a sit still person. So like I would enjoy this for a while and I'm like, okay, next.
And then
Now,
you go next.
to give another idea though, as an example, like to me, that's what surfing does. Okay. So like I go to Costa Rica and it's funny because my brother who's obsessed with the news, he'll call me up and he's like, did you see the news? I'm like, no, and I don't care. And I'm going surfing because when you're out in that ocean with just that board, you're like in a different world. So it's similar to what you would experience with the hot springs. So it depends on the person. But
Well, and
like,
I'm a scuba diver. I mean,
well, see, there you go.
I mean, there so much of the world has never seen underneath. I guess I'm going to have to do a scuba diving, get underneath the, get in the ocean, because I've got all kinds of stories I can tell about crazy things that have happened in the ocean. But
oh yeah, I'm sure.
If I step back, it's all about allowing yourself time to kick back, to have some adventure,
to disconnect, to unplug, put it away. Like I can't have my phone with me while I'm surfing. And that's a good thing.
You cannot.
And that's a good thing. You know? So it's like you're out there. Like I'll surf with the sunset like every day when I'm in Costa Rica. And there's no better feeling like what you're talking about with the scuba diving. Okay, so I can't scuba dive because I had a collapsed lung. But the point is, what better way to escape the world but to be underwater, because then you don't even see the world. It's a different world down there.
Right.
And
it's a completely different world down there.
Exactly.
And there's all kinds of cool stuff. Okay, Juan, you can take my volcano picture down. But okay, I guess I'm going to have to craft something around diving, because a lot of times I have people ask me about, and I think it's just because I love adventure, and it's like, we only have one life and I want to make the most of it.
No doubt. I'm totally that way. Live life to the fullest. I also have probably the worst case of FOMO that anybody's ever had. But the thing is too, I'm going to give some advice about podcasting right now.
Okay.
If you talk about what you're passionate about, it's easy. So yeah, you should do other episodes about other things that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
And if you're passionate about it, you'll collect your tribe because they'll be passionate too.
Well, and so you're making me think about, I'm thinking about other things that I'm passionate that have to do with the ocean, conservation. I'm getting more and more into conservation, and which entails adventure, because I am either involved or helping or something with like, do you know about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch? Do you know about that?
Yeah, and I know about a lot of things because, first of all, my best bro that passed away a couple years ago, he was my best bro since 13. We were like brothers. He's a big-time environmental icon in California, and he does all kinds of water conservation, or did, and basically he restores. He did with the Malibu Lagoon, restored vegetation and steelhead trout that hadn't been there for thousands of years.
Wow.
And then other friends of mine there, this would be right up our alley. They go diving to study kelp.
Yeah.
So they're diving all the time and they're doing kelp studies for the water conservation. My daughter up in the Panhandle is on a turtle rescue team. It's really big where I live. This is like one of the number one places for turtle nesting and rescuing. Like right in my backyard, like I'll go down the elevator and it's such a wonder to watch these turtles dig these nests. Like you just sit there in like amazement, right?
Well, we're almost out of time, Dean.
I know.
I can't believe it. It's like, whoa, just woo. Time goes so fast. So whether we've inspired you to go take in the fall colors that are coming up very soon here, or you're going to go search out some hot springs, or you're going to go to Costa Rica or someplace else in the world, my feeling is just get out there, go for it, go and make sure that you include that adventure in your life. Any last thoughts, Dean?
Yeah, my last thoughts to add to that is what I found in life after road tripping almost this whole country, road tripping Europe 3 times, being all over different places, is like there's something to see everywhere.
Yeah.
And you need to see it. You know, like even in this country, there's states that you probably never thought to go to that you're missing out big time.
Right.
You know, don't listen to chatter, explore.
Yeah.
Explore and come to your own conclusions, because that's what happened to me. Is like I've explored this world and I have come to my own conclusions that are rather different than the ones that I was being brought up on.
Right.
So get out there, do that, get with yourself. That's what happens when you explore and go in nature like that. You find yourself, because a lot of us are on a hamster wheel. It's time to jump off that hamster wheel and find who you really are and who you really want to be. And travel will do that for you.
Well, with that, we've got to wrap this up. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today on the Ask Good Questions podcast. We hope that you've asked some good questions about where next to go. And with that, we will see you next time on the Ask Good Questions podcast. Thanks again.
Today's episode is over, but we did ask good questions again, didn't we? Don't miss out as we broadcast live every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY Radio at W4CY.com. Join Bonita Bell-Andersen next week for more conversations with experts on finances, retirement, behavioral finance issues, health and wellness, and more. Until then, remember to ask good questions.